So it just gets down to not controlling.
Yeah.
I think if you try and control things, you smother it,
Mm-hmm.
and you smother people, and you smother creativity. And for me, it was tempting in earlier parts of my career to hold on tightly, to micromanage, to control, because I thought I was helping people. And I realized that is exactly the opposite. If you hold on lightly and you give guidance, you give support, creativity flourishes, and most people are really brilliant, and most people really want to do well. And so I encourage myself and people that I work with to not control, to be a support, and to be gentle in that support.
Here we go! Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We're back at it again. My name is Thabani Khumalo, the host of the CMO Corner for season 2, and we're going visual as well this year. And this is episode 2, and I'm very excited. Like I always say, I've got a nice guest with me today, where we've got a guest who is a colorful man. We've had a couple of chats right now, and I know he's a man that loves building brands. He loves building communities as well. And he says, don't take yourself too seriously. So we'll chat to him. My guest today is Carel Nolte. He is the CMO of the Purple Group. And I think you like to know your money is at the Purple Group. If you don't know who the Purple Group are, they actually own Easy Equities, Easy Properties, Easy Crypto. They're doing all these amazing things, but we'll talk about that later. My good sir?
It's great being here. Thank you very much. It's a little bit intimidating because you've had such amazing guests, and you're such a pro. So yeah, I'm a little bit intimidated. We will see how we go. But thanks for the invite.
I always say if my marketing career fails me, I'll just do these interviews with bright minds in the marketing world.
I think it's great, and it's good that you've got some side hustles. I think not enough people use their talents everywhere. So it's brilliant that you're doing this. Thanks.
Thank you, man. Thank you for joining.
It's good.
How have you been?
Good. It's always exciting and diverse here at Purple and in our country. So there's lots happening. So good. Markets are very tough at the moment. So we've got to work hard at supporting our clients and helping them with their money and their financial resources. But there's lots of opportunity. I always maintain that in our country, with all its hassles and all its problems, and there's a lot, there's a hell of a lot of opportunity, and it's because of the people.
Definitely. I love that. I want to tell people that we didn't chat on WhatsApp in the morning to say what clothes are we wearing. It just so happens that we've got this style thing together.
And I never actually think what I'm going to wear, and we're doing some filming now with Media 24.
Yeah.
And they're like, we've got to talk about your wardrobe. She says, send me photographs. I'm like, I'm wearing jeans and a trainer. Like my trainers, that's what I'm wearing. That's all I've got to wear. So
crazy.
She wasn't very happy. So I'm pleased that you didn't give me a brief.
Cool sneakers, by the way.
Thank you.
Cool sneakers. I love these. I'll take
you.
a picture and post the sneakers.
I'm getting some tips from my mates here at Easy.
Okay, cool. Let's get to the marketing stuff.
Sorry, in fact, I'm going to interrupt you there.
Sure.
This is also a great story because it's a guy who also has a side hustle.
Oh, yeah?
Kickbox Streetwear, who loves sneakers, and I knew very little about it. So he started a little side hustle, online store selling sneakers. There's an opportunity for people to resell sneakers.
Oh, okay.
And I mean, it's a massive industry. I never realized how big it was.
It is.
And so again, it's just been a fantastic way that people just start a business. It doesn't have to be something that's going to make billions.
Yeah.
Just start, get going.
Definitely.
And what you're doing here, the sneaker business, is one of the big lessons that I've learned from people. Just start.
Yeah, that's cool. What are they called?
Kickbox Streetwear.
Kickbox Streetwear. Check them out.
Great bunch of people.
Cool. So let's get to the marketing stuff. I want to start with an icebreaker. Probably we've already gone through our icebreaker now. We've been chatting away. And like I said to Carel, I don't want you to prep for this. So we'll just jump. I don't want you to think long and hard. Tell me the first thing that comes to mind.
Done.
And then we'll get to all the marketing
I just mustn't
stuff.
swear. I must just remember not to swear.
You and I both.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So what book are you currently reading?
So I'm currently not reading a book. I'm reading a whole bunch of magazines purposefully. And so I love Economist and things like that. So I'm trying to upskill myself a little bit on conservative politics outside South Africa because it's something I fail to understand. So particularly in America and in England. So I'm reading quite a lot about that. But the last book that I read was a book that I got from a friend that had died not long ago, and her sister passed on to me. And it's something about Ukraine, but it's not about the Ukraine. It's a comedy book about a family that had immigrated, or refugees, actually not immigrated, to the UK. And it was quite a sort of a comedy, but making serious points about the refugee crisis. So I like to read anything, is the short answer. I'm not a big on science fiction, but I love reading. I love reading South African literature. And my honors was largely around South African and African literature, and particularly gender studies, so Bessie Head and people like that. So long answer, read a lot and different things.
Okay, cool.
And not enough people read.
You're
and,
right.
and I don't think you can do your job as a marketer well if you don't read enough.
You're right. I'm actually reading an interesting book which is called Originals by Adam Grant.
Okay, I love Adam Grant.
And he's basically sharing ideas around how to actually get your message across and actually make change happen. And how we generally think it's like special people that have this gift where they're actually saying, no, like there's a formula to this thing that you can learn. So I'm enjoying that.
Yeah, and he's great. And he also does some great TED Talks.
Yes.
I've been lucky enough to attend some TEDs. And again, it's so accessible, to learn from people like that.
That's true. Cool. Tequila or
wine? Wine, lots of wine, love wine, sparkling wine. That's an easy one. Hate tequila, hate shooters. Now that I'm old, I sort of manage to sometimes, usually stay away from peer pressure when it comes to shooters. But wine, love, can drink a lot. I love the story around wine. Wine, I think, is great branding.
I should brought you a bottle of wine.
We give you a bottle of wine. We must definitely, and we must chat over wine. So
definitely,
wine.
Okay, cool. Let me see which ones are like appropriate.
Well, ask the inappropriate ones. They're usually more fun.
Favorite travel destination?
So long answer. I try and make a point to travel to one African country that I don't know every year, because I think travel, if you're lucky enough to be able to physically travel, is a great privilege, and I think travel also helps you be less prejudiced. Teaches you a hell of a lot. So African countries, the one that I'd always wanted to go and I've been to and loved was Ethiopia. Loved it because amazing architecture, amazing people, great culture, and it just reinforced. We often think Europe or Western culture is where things began, and I mean those churches, Lalibela, are phenomenal. Burkina Faso, another fabulous country, really interesting. They've got a festival, the Mast Festival, every second year, which is hugely interesting. So I love those two countries in Africa, and beyond our own continent. I speak French poorly, but I speak French, so I like to go to France a lot. Bonjour. Ça va? How are you? The French are very happy as long as you say one word, then you're in. I like to travel to places where cell phones don't work. That's increasingly difficult. Traveled to North Korea 2019, which was really interesting. So different places I like to explore, and there's a crowd called Lupin Travel that offers sort of relatively inexpensive ways to access tricky spots. So my next destination with them is Afghanistan.
Oh, nice.
So it's going to be good.
Just let me know how that goes. Cool. Now let's get to the marketing stuff. Thank you for indulging me.
No, thank you.
So when I was doing my research and I was stalking you a bit, I read that there's a quote that you love, which is "Hold on lightly, not tightly." What is that all about?
So it just gets down to not controlling. I think if you try and control things, you smother it, and you smother people, and you smother creativity. And for me, it was tempting in earlier parts of my career to hold on tightly, to micromanage, to control, because I thought I was helping people. And I realized that is exactly the opposite. If you hold on lightly and you give guidance, you give support, creativity flourishes, and most people are really brilliant, and most people really want to do well. And so I encourage myself and people that I work with to not control, to be a support, and to be gentle in that support. So, people who are too egotistical, too forceful, like the world really has moved on from that. Like nobody wants to be told, do this and this way. Like stuff you. So it's just give the guardrails and don't think you know best. Sort of also part of that.
Nice. So there's a leadership. It almost feels like you've got a gentle leadership style, but also an evolved and modern leadership style.
So I'm difficult.
Oh yeah.
So gentle. I'm demanding of myself. So I'm demanding of the people that work with me, and as they would all attest to, in fact, they get stressed when I'm on leave because then I really start thinking and start sending tons of emails. So I've now banned myself from doing But part of it is also I'm a strong supporter of my team. So I'm very clear with myself and with them that family, health are things that always come first. So a work situation never takes preference over family and health. Those are the things that you need to focus on. So whilst I am demanding and expect a lot of all of us, I am nurturing in that way, and I do take seriously my role of mentoring. So one of my biggest joys and the thing I'm most proud of is that people that have worked with me or for me in the past are now far smarter than me and have roles that are far bigger than mine, and for me that's a great thing. It doesn't make me feel less. I just think, geez, that's amazing. I played a small role in that. So I am demanding, so not so gentle.
Okay, cool. Nah, I'll take that. So tell me how your journey into marketing started.
Short answer, through people and relationships. And I think branding is actually just that, people and relationships. So I studied law, and then I did languages, English and French. I had a bursary to study my PhD overseas and ended up working in media, BBC. Thought I would come back to South Africa to work in media. But then through making a speech at also sort of unplanned, got a job interview from Nedbank and Hollard at the time. And both were in communication roles. And long story short, I eventually took the Hollard job because everybody said take the Nedbank job because nobody had heard of Hollard, and it was a small company. But both the person from Nedbank has remained a very strong mentor and friend in my life, as has the Hollard person. And so I got into it a little bit by default, like through the media experience that I had in BBC, and my role was head of communications at this tiny little insurance company. But I quickly understood that marketing is about people and relationships, and I love that because I love diversity and difference of different people, putting things together that something don't belong together, and getting a great outcome. And I was lucky that my boss at Hollard was a woman called Sheila Sergi, who's still a very good friend of mine. And so I learned great marketing lessons from her. And as we built that Hollard brand, and it was a great privilege because it was off a very low base, so we sort of had free reign to do a lot of stuff. And I just naturally enjoyed it. But a big part of it was that I was lucky in my boss. And it's something that I've also been conscious of as my career has progressed, is the responsibility you have towards people when they come and work with you, regardless of whether they're young or like you impact like a lot of their life. So don't mess with it. Take it seriously. And I don't have any formal marketing qualifications, and for a long time I was very arrogant about not employing people who had marketing qualifications, because I used to say that they forgot how to think because they came with 6 P's and 10 T's, whatever they were learning. Now I believe you need some new balance with people who've got some of that formal training, but you don't need to, in my opinion, necessarily have marketing training to be a really good marketer. So that was sort of the start of it, and I quickly realized that marketing also impacts everything in a business.
True.
Like you're there to support the product people, but you need to understand the product. You need to influence the design. you're a consumer of that product. So how does it affect you? So I always remind myself, like, I'm not just the marketing person for Easy Equities. I'm also a client. So that thing that's irritating me, like, how can I as the marketer influence it? And I'm very pleased that I ended up in marketing. It's I get to do things like this, meet people like you. It's a great career.
Nah, love it. So if I was to think about Hollard, you saying at the time it was quite a small business, right? But now it's actually quite a big business. Like, I think a lot of marketers look at the spirit, the culture of Hollard, what they're doing, and you look at it as a big player in the insurance space. What do you think were some of the fundamentals in building that brand, and particularly from your role as well in the comms department? Do you think there are any fundamentals in just great comms from brands?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. So marketers aren't magicians. So if you've got a product that's crap, you're not going to be able to work magic. So you've got to believe in the product. And so a fundamental thing Hollard at the time is it was, what is insurance about? And the CEO at the time, Paolo Cavalieri, was very clear that insurance is the bedrock of society. Like, without insurance, nothing can happen. And so that appealed to me as a marketer. That's what I was selling, is that this was an enabler for you to own a house, to own a car, to do the work that you do. So the first thing is you've got to believe in that product, and if you don't, change it. So if you're at a place and you don't, understand or believe, find out about it and influence the change. So that for me is important. The second thing is around the leadership of the brand. And I know, many people talk about leadership, but unless the leader is a genuine person, then it makes your job very difficult. So I've also been clear in my career, I'm not going to work for somebody who's busy having affairs around the office. First of all, I don't know where they find the time if they're doing the job properly. But, secondly, that doesn't sit well with me. So there's got to be a values alignment. And so, from that first experience with Apollo, who exhibited, excellent leadership, to where I am now, Charles Savage, at Purple, the leadership is fundamental to how I play my role. I don't have to worry when I organize a media engagement with Charles. I'm not the go-between between Charles and the media. I connect them directly. I sort of brief and get out the way.
Sure.
Because Charles knows what he's doing. He's not going to embarrass the brand, and on he goes. And a journalist respects that. They don't have some PR person meddling in the middle. So the leadership for me is important, and again, you've got to hold up a mirror to that leadership as a brand person, both externally and internally. So I have harsh conversations with CEOs that I work with in Charles, and you've got to have a CEO that's open to that and who's able to give direct feedback as well. So, from a Charles maybe you could consider doing this from an internal perspective, do that from an external perspective. And he'll never say no if it's the benefit of his clients and the brand. He's always doing it. So I think as a marketer, a fundamental issue, you've got to hold up a mirror to the leadership of that business. Another fundamental is diversity. And that, in the South African context, people think is race and gender automatically, and it absolutely is, but it's not only that. It's around, age. I learned so much from people that are younger than me. It's so much. So age for me is a big thing. Have people in your team or get people into your space if you don't have a big team that bring a different age dynamic. And similarly also people who are older. So I have an 84-year-old father who's still working full-time, which I think is a very bad example because I hope to not be working full-time. But my PA is in her 70s. So again, people who are older, I think, also bring a really interesting dynamic. But people who read different things, people who come from different backgrounds to you. So not having a team that's similar is vital, and then letting their voices be heard. And it's one of the things I love about the brand team at Easy Equities, which is not massive, is that it is diverse in terms of the experience that the team brings. And that influences what we do big time. And you must interrupt me if I'm talking too long, because I will carry on because I love this stuff.
Go for it.
Yeah.
I'll never stop you.
Yeah. So the other thing that I think is a fundamental when you're doing marketing is, so I think the best brand budget is R0.
Okay. This is the first time I'm hearing something like this, and I want to hear more.
Yeah. So I get very upset when people ask me what's my budget. I said R0 because I find such a silly question because because similarly, I'm happy if we spend 10 million rand if we're going to make 100 million, but I'm unhappy if we're spending 1,000 rand and we're wasting it. So money is not the starting point. For me, it is how can we do things that's interesting and different, not for different sake, but that can add value to people, and also that we have fun along the way. Because also fundamentally, like, have fun. Like life's bloody hard for many people often. Like, we've got to try and have fun when we do this. And for me, it is starting with the people in a team. So, whether it's Kalo's joined the team now. So what is his actual interest? What is his strength? Jess, who's into fitness. Okay, Jess, well, why don't we do something with the boxing gym? Or why don't we get together and do some fitness stuff that links to people and say financial fitness and physical fitness, and on we go. So it's finding those little gaps that I think is far more interesting, and you get far more value. And you're also adding value to that partner.
Sure.
So how do we help the boxing gym see results, in this case, build their database? And they're helping us. So networking and word of mouth, and this was a fundamental that I learned from Sheila way back when. It's word of mouth is the best way to build a brand. Now, we all know that, but if we believe that, then why do I need to spend tons of money? If my product is really good and people are selling it, then I'm only going to spend tons of money as a marketer if I've got a big ego, I've got money to waste. And I always say, I've got a big ego, but I satisfy it elsewhere, and I don't have money to waste. It's it's not your money if you're in a company. It's the shareholders, and so I like to find ways that don't cost money. And that doesn't mean that we then save that money and put it in the back pocket. I think that money can go into product development. So in an easy perspective, I think brand money is when we do our products better, when the platform improves, when the system's better, when we employ more dev people. That for me is great branding. When our finance team, is able to quicker and better process payments and withdrawals and deposits, that for me is great marketing because it improves word of mouth. So I think it allows you to spend that money differently.
Sure.
And now many companies are doing it, but I think I've been lucky in the brands I've been involved in doing sort of CSI type marketing, and it's clear it's not replacing your CSI responsibility, which I think corporates certainly have, and all of us as individuals in South Africa. So that needs to happen, but that you find ways that you can do good and promote your brand in a genuine kind of a way.
Sure.
An easy example for us at Easy Equities is around education. The more we empower and help users be better investors, the better for our brand.
True.
So and to be open to being challenged to stuff that's like crazy ideas, like just create a space where people can, what about this and what about that? And I find myself negatively as an older person. I mean, I'm not old, I'm 48, but I realized that when I was 20 years younger, anything was possible. Now when somebody comes with an idea, I have to watch myself not to say, try that. It's very different. It's 20 years later. So you've got to give, again, hold on lightly, give air to that idea, explore it. And I know it's a concept that you're interested in, and maybe I can talk about it now, is around failure. Failure for me is fantastic, and I think it's a ludicrous thing that we teach children that failure is bad, because if you don't fail, you can't learn.
Right.
And it's a big part of the culture here. Driven from a child's, it fell quickly, and fell forward and learn, and don't see it as and don't punish people for failing. Reward people for failing. I mean, if someone does the same thing twice, maybe they're not the sharpest pencil in the toolbox. But you can fail and learn, test, move on. So create an environment where failure is not tolerated but celebrated, and that you can laugh about. Like, can you believe we thought that was a good idea? I mean, I've done some incredibly stupid things as a marketer. And
we'll get to
and I was never see the light of day, but you learn from those, and learn quickly, learn smartly, test. Those are.
So tell me, I heard you speak about a couple of things, and I kind of want to go deeper into them. I heard about your relationship with the CEO right now, which is Charles Savage. And I think it's an interesting one from a marketing perspective to always be close to your CEOs, particularly at the level in which you're in right now, because at the end of the day, like what you were saying, marketing has a fundamental impact in the whole business. How have you navigated that? Because generally in boardrooms, sometimes you find that the CMO is just not listened to. It's the CFO that has the biggest voice, right? But seemingly you have a close relationship with the CEO. How have you navigated that?
So for me, I think it is in the industry that you're in. You, as a CMO, you've got to understand that industry. So I make it my job to know about not only the technicalities of a business and Purple Group, so whether it's our Easy Equities platform, the properties platform, our trading and platform GT or any of those, but about investment broadly. So what I mean by that is I study it. I read about it in publications, magazines, but I study it. So am I ever going to be the expert? Am I ever going to be as smart as our trader or our chief risk officer or Charles or Gary, our CFO in that environment? No. But for me, it enables me to have a conversation around marketing. And I think often, marketers come wanting to talk marketing. They want to talk their advert or their brand or their this. I like to go and say, this is the problem we're experiencing from a business perspective. And I think from a brand perspective, this is how we could assist.
100%.
Then you don't get pushback because the interest in the CEO is to do the best by their clients and to grow their business. So for me, I don't have a lot of time for marketers to say, oh, shame, we don't get a seat at the table. Well, you earn that seat at the table by understanding the business. And insurance, which, is a big part of my life. For me, I think the really, and sadly, I think this is sort of the majority of HR and marketing people often in that industry, they've never been into a broker's office. They don't do insurance exams. They don't go to insurance functions. So, but you're wanting to sell it or you're wanting to support people in that environment. I think you make your job so much harder. So I think as a CMO, you've got to know the actual industry that you're in. And I have an expectation of my team as well. Like my team need to read the financial mail. They need to understand what our products and processes are. And then maybe the last thing on that is also that, the CEO is also the person that can give you really direct feedback.
Sure.
So, and I don't like the term strong personality, but I'm a strong person, and so to have a CEO that can say to you, that is no, or think about it differently is important. And so you need to create the space where you share your thinking with that CEO to give it back, give his or her views back to you. Interestingly, Charles is really the first male boss that I've had. So that's been an interesting space for me to navigate because I always said I'm only going to work for women. And so maybe I found the softer female side in Charles Savage after all.
I love that. All right, cool. So if I think about your current role now, right, and the business that you're in, and I'm looking at all the different logos obviously that are in the platform right now. By the way, my money is deep in there, hey?
Fantastic, thank you. We're going to work hard. All our money is also in here. So that's the other thing. When these markets, we're like...
The markets are tough right now. But what I wanted to know is, this is a new business if you think about Purple Group. And you guys have done a fundamentally great job in building it as a business. And I think you're on your route now to 1 million users, if I'm not mistaken. Maybe you are there, and we'll find out when the results come out. But what do you think it has taken to build the brand to the stature it is right now? Because you could almost argue that it's a global business right now, but call it 7 years ago, it was a startup. What are the fundamentals that help build the business and the brand?
Cool. So thanks. It's a great question, and for me, the Easy Equities story, which was the biggest part of Purple Group, it started with a great idea that Charles had. But there are millions of great ideas, and they die. And so one of the fundamentals is that when you've got a good idea, again, you've just got to start.
Yeah.
So, Charles had this idea in November, December, and the following year, a couple of months later, we launched. Was the platform perfect? Absolutely not. If we'd waited for it to be perfect, we never would have launched. So start. Second thing is we involved our potential clients to test. And for me, that's such a fundamental. Like, don't think as a business or as a marketer, ask your clients and be open and honest about the feedback you got. So we got feedback in those initial tests with things that that were wrong, clearly, we didn't like. Actually, they were right in the things that we had to do. So you've also got to be open to that feedback and change your business. And we still do that constantly. We send out surveys. We developed Easy Properties because our users said they wanted. We don't have certain things but on our platform because the user said, that's not for us. So doing stuff that's, and we've gotten it wrong. We've done some stuff that we thought where we lost our way. No, ask your customer. So that for me has been a big thing. The other aspect is that keep that entrepreneurial mindset. So we're a flat structure at Purple and a small team, and we've now formalized it into agile as a concept. But we were agile before we sort of went through the training and development of agile. So it was never, oh, I'm the CEO, I'm the CMO, or I'm the CFO. People wear lots of different hats.
Love that.
And people pitch in. Nobody's like, excuse me, that's not my job. That's like your job, or that's.
100%.
So people pitch in, and that remains a fundamental of our business. And I love that. It's sort of meritocracy as well. It's a title doesn't make you the best or the smartest person in the room. What are some of the other fundamentals? I think it is the failure that I spoke about, fail quickly and move forward. Culture is a term that's often bandied around, but the elements of culture that I think stand us in good stead in Purple is that we don't take ourselves seriously, which is another one of my favorite expressions, but we take what we do seriously.
Got you.
So I don't care what somebody wears to work, when if that I care about their output. That we care for each other, so the family and health being first, and so we support each other in that environment, and particularly in the startup, it's hard. We haven't had resources in Purple. We built this business with no money. So we built the business, you'd make a bit of money, you'd invest it. We didn't have massive investors. If we were in America, we'd have gone and you'd have raised billions easily in an environment. Also in South Africa, we haven't had that luxury. And I think that was actually to our benefit that we didn't have it, because it forced us to be innovative and to be smart with our resources. The other thing is that you must be open to change, that agile thing. So that, I might be playing this marketing role tomorrow, but actually I'm needed. Now we're opening in the Philippines. My talent might be doing X, Y, and Z in the Philippines. And we're learning. You've also been open to learn and being challenged. So I think those are some of our fundamentals. And overall, and maybe the summary is, we're clear on our purpose. We're clear that we want investment to be accessible to all. And whilst for me that has mainly been younger women, black South Africans, I'm increasingly driven also to make the billionaires, of which we've got a couple, and multimillionaires on the platform. I want all of those people to understand this is also the place for you, because you can have more fun here. It's a cheaper way to do it. It's an easier way to do it. So it literally is our purpose, democratization for everybody.
Yes.
And we treat everybody the same, and that was a principle that Charles had right from the word go, which is fantastic. So whether somebody has 10 Rand or 100 million Rand on the platform, they don't get different service or different. No, they don't. And it's like a big thing for us. Like we take it very seriously. And from a client engagement perspective, and I said I look after that side of our business, which is really easy because the team is so brilliant. I'm largely redundant. And that's a genuine comment. I really. But when we have somebody that is rude to somebody or swears at them over an engagement, I fire them as my client. And then somebody's like, you can't. I said, not I can't, I have. So goodbye. Like we don't tolerate that. And it's again that dignity. 10 Rand, 100 million, you're the same. Whether you're a client engagement person or the CEO, you need the same dignity, and that's what we're about. It's people's money. It's financial. It's serious stuff.
It is serious stuff.
So you can't, and when we get it wrong, as we sometimes do, when there's a system issue or other issues where we haven't done what we said we would in terms of with a withdrawal or a deposit, never hide it. Like that's another principle. Like be honest about it, apologize, fix it and move on.
Yeah.
And in my experience in a business, so don't hide stuff as a marketer. Like, I share everything. Like, there's no secret. Like, be open, including about your stuff ups. Apologize, fix it. Your clients appreciate that. Honesty, transparency. And I think that's been, and it's good for me to articulate this in this session. And so thank you, because we're also, our heads are down. We don't have an opportunity to talk about our business with each other often off the time externally. So it's nice to actually reflect a little bit about some of what we do well and some of what we've learned. So, thanks.
And I think you're doing a great job, because I would argue that, and probably the current state of the market is proof that we're not pulling our money out of the platform, right? We're quite loyal to the platform, because chances are it's something that you guys are doing right.
Yeah.
And I think it speaks to the consumer engagement that you've been discussing with me. I think innovation is a huge part of your business, and I'm not sure how much of the data and the innovation have come together for you.
Yeah.
Because I think we've got those solutions currently in the platform.
Yeah. So those, again, lots of stuff there. So in terms of the client loyalty, so I've said right from the word go that our clients are smart, and I took it very personally when, more experienced investors and analysts and asset managers saying, retail people, I'm like, honestly, they're smart. Now, 7, 8, 9 years later, I've got the data to prove that retail investors are smart. We see that the performance of all of us as investors, our portfolio performance, outperforms most asset managers across many periods. Now, does that mean that the retail investor is perfect? No. But they don't run with their money. They diversify. They engage. They talk. They learn. They listen to podcasts. So the retail investors, and the average age is 32, the vast majority of our clients are black. We're inching up towards 50% women, which is very different from other financial services companies. Many are first-time investors. They are smart. And they've got a lot to teach asset managers and others. And I think if we get away from this versus, but we work together, that would be really good. So I'm really excited. And we've got about 1.5 million registered clients, and we've probably got about 850,000 that are active. So whilst that's great, and we've grown retail users significantly, in a country as vast as South Africa, that's not good enough. So we wake up, we've got to do better for those people, and for our existing clients. In terms of the innovation, it's also seeing that it's listening to your clients, as I said. It's understanding that it doesn't have to just be the big things. So try and innovate one small thing. How can you make the withdrawal process half an hour quicker?
Sure.
How can you do whatever your business is, or part of the business, one little thing? And if we do one little thing better every day, each one of us, geez, this business is going to pump even more. And don't overthink it. Like, I always say we're a tiny company in tiny little South Africa and tiny Africa. This is not, Russia and Ukraine and war, serious big things. So get on with it. But I mean, we're lucky in this business that we've got a couple of people. Charles is one of them, but there are a couple of others that are big on the innovation. And part of, I always joke with them, part of my job as a marketer is, if they've got 10 ideas, 8 are like really, in my opinion, rubbish and will take us down rabbit holes. 1 is good and we need to do it. And 1 is so brilliant that if we don't do it, it will be disastrous. So how do you sift out of those? How do you create an environment where you get that one good idea? And the good ideas can come from anybody.
This is true.
It's... I mean, I've had brilliant marketing ideas from people in our finance department or areas that allegedly know nothing about marketing. They're brilliant marketers.
Yeah. I love that. And I think if as you wind down, if I was to reflect on some of the key things, and I want you probably to also close off on some aspects that you think are very important for marketers, for corporates, for small businesses that are trying to grow to the level of what you guys are right now, is learn fast. Be collaborative, fail quickly, and fail forward. And from a marketing point of view, look at the whole business if you're in marketing. Don't just focus on your own area in isolation. Are there any other learnings you think are very critical for anyone? I think that's the most important thing about this podcast as well. It is for people that want to go into marketing, but I also hope to actually teach executives as well that want to learn from. So do you have anything that you want to share and actually
Yeah, I think a big thing is have fun.
yeah.
You've got to enjoy what you're doing, particularly in the hard and difficult times. You've got to have fun.
Yeah.
Enjoy it. Do your best. Learn from other people. And I want to underscore the point about understanding what's happening in the rest of your business. Like if you understand the pressures that the IT people have got, or you understand the pressures the finance team have got, you'll be better at your job as a marketer.
Yeah.
You'll handle what you're needing to do better. And then the advice just broadly to people is trust yourself. Start. Anything's possible. Like it really is not. Yeah, anything is possible. Don't think that you can't do something.
Sure.
Find the people to support you. I love your energy. I love the fact that you started this. You're getting it out there. You're adding value to people. There's lots more talent out there. People need to have the confidence. We need to support them. Reach out. Collaboration, as you've summarized. And get a mentor and be a mentor.
Yeah. I guess, guys, it's clear for me. And thank you for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you very much for the opportunity.
I truly appreciate your time. I truly appreciate your wisdom. Continue doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
And I hope this business actually grows so that it's one of those businesses which you can all be proud of.
Thank you.
That's a business that we invested in. That's a South African business. That's our business.
And so I love that because it is. We have got tens of thousands of Easy Equities users that are invested in Purple.
Yeah.
We're one of the biggest in terms of volume of shareholders, companies on the Joburg Stock Exchange.
Yeah.
And that's us. It's all ordinary South Africans. I'm so proud of that, and we're gonna carry on working hard to make sure we all get through this not nice bear market.
Yeah, it's a rough market right now. It's a rough market.
Yeah,
Cool.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And that's a wrap from our side, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. And yeah, man, until the next one. This was no promo for Purple Code, but let's